Welcome to Funding Fundamentals, CWELCC Cost-Based Funding Explained, podcast where we demystify the Canada-wide early learning and childcare cost-based funding, one episode at a time. I'm Ashley McMullen, your host, here to guide you through the complexities of funding and what it means for childcare providers. But here's the twist. Our guests who will help us demystify these topics, they aren't human. They are AI-generated voices with a knack for breaking things down, crunching numbers, and maybe even throwing in a little digital wit. This limited series is here to make funding fundamentals crystal clear. So let's decode CWELCC with the help of voices that never get tired. Let's hear from our special guest.
Okay, let's really get into this CWELCC funding. It's pretty essential if you're in childcare, right? Today we're doing that deep dive, really focusing on what cost-based funding actually means under this system.
Absolutely. And the big thing to grasp right away is that the funding, it's not really tied just to how many kids you have enrolled. It's designed more fundamentally to reflect the actual cost of running your program. That's the core idea, a real shift.
It starts by looking back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. They use your 2023 audited financial statements as the foundation, but then importantly, they adjust those historical costs. They bring them forward to 2025 levels.
How do they do that adjusting?
You've got to factor in inflation, for one.
Standard.
Makes sense?
Then major fixed cost increases, things that, jump significantly.
Like big unavoidable hikes.
Precisely. And then any significant changes in, operational reality, how the program actually runs.
Operational reality.
Okay, so using the past to predict the future, essentially. Yeah. Why use historical costs, though? Why not just estimate 2025 directly?
That's a good question. The thinking outlined in the material is that using those adjusted historic costs provides a sort of verifiable baseline. The goal is really for the funding you actually get in 2025 to match up as closely as possible with what it's likely going to cost you to operate in 2025, trying to sync resources with, reality.
Makes sense. Okay, so how does this actually translate into the money providers receive? The source breaks it down into four main parts.
So we'll break down each component, explain what it does.
Exactly. Its purpose, the key details, so that you walk away with a really clear, concise picture.
Sounds good. And what's interesting is how each component tackles a different piece of the puzzle funding, sustainability for the providers.
So where do we start? What's the first piece?
Okay, the first one, the foundation really, is the benchmark allocation.
Benchmark. Okay.
Think of it as your baseline funding, but crucially, it's adjusted.
Adjusted how?
Based on where the provider operates geographically, and also whether they're, say, a home-based provider versus a center.
So it accounts for different costs and situation.
Exactly. It tries to create a more, let's say, equitable starting point. Recognizing that running a daycare in downtown Toronto is different from somewhere rural or home versus center overheads.
Right, that makes sense. Setting the foundation baseline, but with built-in flexibility.
Precisely.
Okay, but what if that baseline, even adjusted, doesn't quite cover a provider's actual costs? Especially for, existing operations. Is there something extra?
Good question. And that leads us straight to the second component, the top-up allocation.
Top-up, okay.
So if an existing provider finds their adjusted costs are actually higher than that benchmark they received, this top-up is designed to cover that difference.
So it bridges the gap.
Exactly. It's there to help bridge that gap, providing pretty crucial support for those established operations.
That seems important for stability, keeping existing places going.
Yeah.
But hang on, you said existing providers. What about new ones?
You picked up on that. That's a really key detail.
So new providers don't get this top-up?
That's right. Any provider who is new to the CWELCC system wouldn't receive this specific top-up funding. They'd only qualify for that initial benchmark allocation we talked about.
So we've got benchmark and then the top-up for existing providers with higher costs.
Mm-hmm.
What about looking beyond just covering the immediate bills? How does the model help providers actually build something sustainable? Because running any service like this needs more than just breaking even, right?
Absolutely. You can't just tread water forever. And that brings us nicely to the third component, the profit or surplus allocation.
Profit.
Okay.
And that word might raise some eyebrows in a public funding context.
It might sound a bit counterintuitive, yeah.
Yeah.
But this component is actually a key insight into how these systems think about long-term sustainability.
So it's not profit in the usual corporate sense.
Not exactly. It's more about acknowledging that providers need resources beyond just covering immediate costs. Money for things like reinvestment in the facility, innovation in programs, retaining good staff, handling unexpected repairs or challenges.
Right, things that go beyond just the day-to-day operating expenses.
Exactly. It's a recognition that a truly sustainable service needs more than just basic cost recovery. It needs some, well, breathing room.
That makes a lot of sense. It's vital for quality and long-term viability. But you mentioned it's not just one flat amount. How is it structured?
You're right, it's not a single figure. It typically includes a base amount, maybe a premium, and sometimes a flat amount, too.
A tiered approach.
Kind of, yeah. This tiered structure can reflect different things, maybe the scale of the operation, certain quality indicators they meet, perhaps even geographical factors again. It allows for a more nuanced way to support that long-term viability for all sorts of different providers.
So this breathing room isn't just extra cash. It's designed strategically.
That's the idea. It's meant to ensure providers can invest in quality, keep good educators, manage bumps in the road, and ultimately just make the service better. It's about long-term health, not just bare-bones survival.
Okay, that really clarifies that component. So we have the foundation, benchmark, help for higher costs, top up, and this allocation for sustainability, profit surplus. What's the last piece? What about the fees families pay? How does that fit in?
Right, the parent fees. That leads us to the fourth and final component, the base fee revenue offset.
Offset. So this reduces the funding.
Yes, exactly. This part of the model actually adjusts the providers downwards.
Okay.
Essentially, it's the government factoring in the money that providers are already getting directly from parents. It ensures the public funding acts as a supplement to parental contributions, not a complete replacement.
Ah, okay. So it avoids double dipping in a way.
You could put it like that. It acknowledges the revenue stream coming from families. We know the goal is to get those fees down, often to $22 a day or less under the agreements.
Right.
But it's also important to remember some providers might have base fees that are already less than that $22 threshold.
So the offset calculation takes the actual parent fee revenue into account.
Precisely. So can you walk us through an example? Let's take, say, provider A.
Yeah.
Their adjusted costs in 2025 are, let's say, $110,000. But the benchmark, that standard amount you mentioned, is $115,000. How does that work?
Okay, so in provider A's case, since their actual costs, the $110, are below the $115,000 benchmark,
Right.
they actually receive the full benchmark amount, so they get the $115,000.
Okay. So even though their costs are lower, they get the full $115.
Exactly. There's no top-up needed because the benchmark itself covers, well, more than covers their costs. It gives them that stable base.
Got it. A bit of a buffer, maybe. Okay, so that's one scenario. But here's where it gets interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about provider B? Let's say they had higher costs, maybe $120,000 for 2025, after inflation and everything.
Okay.
But the benchmark is still that same $115,000. What happens then?
Well, since their actual costs, the $120,000 are higher than the $115,000 benchmark.
Yeah.
They get the benchmark, the $115,000, plus they get a $5,000 top-up.
A top-up. Okay.
Yeah, precisely to cover that difference.
Okay, so summarizing this for you listening, the key thing with these legacy centers is that the funding tries to match their actual costs.
That's the core idea.
If costs are below the benchmark, they still get the full benchmark. If costs are above, they get the benchmark plus that top-up. It's not just a per-child payment.
Correct.
But this specific model, does it apply across the board to all childcare?
That's a really crucial point. No, it's really important to understand this funding mechanism, the top-up system. It only applies to these legacy centers.
Oh, with them.
Yes. It would not apply to, say, new CWHEEL LCC spaces. Those operate under different, newer funding agreements.
It's complex under the hood, but that's the stated goal.
Definitely complex. And it hinges so much on those initial 2023 numbers being accurate and properly adjusted.
Absolutely critical.
That's it for today's episode of Funding Fundamentals, CWELCC Explained. I hope you found today's discussion insightful and that it helps you navigate the complexities of Canada's early learning and childcare system with confidence. If you have questions, thoughts, or topics you'd like us to explore, feel free to reach out. Stay tuned for more episodes where we'll continue breaking down funding in a way that's clear and accessible. Until next time, I'm Ashley McMullen, and thanks for listening.